Imagine if you went 2 stories, Michelle, you could build yourself quite a palace.
I know.
Okay. Hey, Daniel and Nora.
Hey guys.
Hello.
You look like a DJ, Daniel.
He does. KZSU.
I have no idea what a DJ looks like.
I'm trying to remember who is our.
Those are some nice drawings, Steve.
Oh, thanks. I think if you got creative, you could put yourself a nice house on 4,000 square feet without any problem. I grew up in a 1,200 square foot house with 2 brothers, so.
Well, if you, I mean, you build 2 stories, you can.
You could really.
You can get quite a bit out of 2 stories.
You sure could.
Brian said that he may join us, but he's distracted, of course.
So yeah.
That's hard to believe.
We'll go ahead and get started then. So the only thing for tonight's meeting is to start on page 42 of the land use plan. So if everybody has theirs handy.
Myself to 42.
Yeah, that's where we dropped off last time. And then I think everybody got the copies of Stephen's drawings that were really useful, I think.
I'm not sure I was copied, but I'll grab them from Eric.
I thought I CC'd you. Did I not CC you, Cindy?
I'm looking.
It was late this afternoon.
Oh, yeah. Yep, there it is. No, that's not it.
That's not it?
Okay. I'll find them. It's fine. Between Eric and I'll find them. Yeah, I'm not. Weird.
I could run in and do it really quick.
That's fine. Actually, here, I'll just get it off of Eric's machine.
Okay. So what Steve did is he did like a 40-foot by 100-foot wide lot and showed, with the current setbacks that we have, where the home could be placed with a 15 by 15 garage. And if it was on a corner lot, he had those, it moved in a little bit. So kind of showed that, you would have a small backyard of 10 by 40 and a small front yard of 15 by 40. So it was long and skinny. And then he did the 60 by 66.7 with setbacks. So on that first one, the house could be with the garage. You could fit up to 2,025 square feet.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And if it was a corner lot, only 1,650 square foot.
Yeah, that doesn't include the garage though. So.
Oh, that didn't include the garage?
In the lower area, it says the building area on a regular lot is 2,250 and corner lot's 1,875.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we kept that 50% lot coverage though, so a 4,000 square foot lot, the maximum you would be able to do is 2,000 square foot anyway. True. Of all buildings. Yeah. So
like most people would make that garage 20 feet long and incorporate the front of the house so that the garage is on one side and the house is on the other. And then there would be part of the house behind the garage, which would have a common wall for entry. So you could actually use pretty much all of that lot until you hit your limit size-wise.
Yeah. You just have really small yards, but some people would like.
Right.
And then on the 60-foot wide by 66.7, kind of a almost box shape, you kind of put in where the building can go, the building area, including the garage, is at 2,085 square feet. If you're on a corner lot, 1,876. So,
Interesting.
and then the third one he did was the 50 by 80. And building area is about 2,200 square feet. On a corner lot, it's 1,925. So again, I mean, good drawings. I mean, they help me see it a lot. Personally, I could imagine 20 homes all built like that and so close with no backyard or front yard. But I live in the country where I live on 10 acres. So I don't have that type of thing.
Yeah, it's done all the time in the big city, though.
Yeah. We're not big city yet.
No.
So, and that's why a lot of people do like Toledo, and living in Toledo is because it's you have some of the city functions, but it's not that big city feel. It still feels like you're in the country. So that's when you guys really need to think about when you do want, if that in fact is something you want to do, is go down to that 4,000 square foot lot. This is what it could potentially look like in a development.
Particularly right now with the prices, developers are probably going to be very eager.
I'm sorry?
Well, right now with the current prices, developers will be eager to come in and build as much as they can in whatever lots we allow. So
exactly.
They will probably move fast.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, with the housing shortage, we need to put as many as we can, I mean, not necessarily in Toledo, but in all of Lewis County. There's we need more houses. We need more.
Well,
we're short already, and even the developable land we have does not, under the old regs, get us to where we need to be, does it?
Right.
Yes, it does. It does, because we have a large area of undeveloped property inside the city limits currently, and then we have a large urban growth area. So our 20-year projection is still at the 1,131 population base, and we're only at 725 currently. So
I wouldn't mind restricting to 8,000 on new subdivisions of more than, let's say, 4 units that come in. I think all along Eric has been more interested, and correct me if I'm wrong, Cindy, is that you have all this unused space in the downtown core, which could facilitate additional housing in the downtown core where everything is in walking distance of the market, the post office, the bank. And if you wanted to set aside a core area and say, in this area we would do 4,000 square foot lots, if you wanted to subdivide, and then change the parameters so that your houses have to be smaller, then on your development side, when you're going essentially outside that core area, then require that they be a little bit closer to regs as they are now. Does anybody else understand what I'm saying?
No, I think that
makes sense.
Yeah, I think you're
but I know that Cindy and Eric, they did do a walkabout. There's not a lot of lands in that downtown core, especially area, that the home's not already built like in the center of it. So to divide it would be difficult. I don't think you could, there's very few that you would be able to divide, down to 4,000.
I think what you may find, though, Michelle, is that as prices go up in this area, which they are continuing to do, is that a lot of the homes that are on there are very small homes, and or they're manufactured homes, or they're double wides, is that the price of housing would not preclude you from buying a lot from somebody, clearing the lot, and then subdividing it into 2.
Gotcha.
Yep, that is true. And Michelle, you are right. There is just a handful of sites in the core downtown that, you know, the house is offset. So there's a big side yard or a big backyard. But
if I'm a developer, I have been, and I'm looking at that as a possibility for investment, I'm looking at a guy that's selling his what would have been at one point in time $150,000 to $200,000 small home of 900 square feet, but he's on an 8,000 square foot lot or a 10,000 square foot lot, and I can build 2 homes on those 2 lots for $600,000 each, and the price of demolishing and clearing his old home away is just part of the bargain.
I hope you're not predicting the future. That was crazy to think that a 4,000 square foot lot with a home in downtown Toledo would be $600,000.
You wait.
Yeah, that's incredible.
10 years ago, when they were running at 125 to 175 for a small home downtown, you said, "Wow, I have to think about that." And now you've got one up for sale now. That's what, $295,000.
Yeah, you can't find those homes anymore.
You can't touch them
under 200,000.
Yeah. I think that Eric's intent all along is that, you know, those larger lots in the downtown area provide the flexibility in the codes to put smaller houses on smaller lots. So that's the intent. So how you write that, and I agree with Steve, is that, you know, the urban growth area might accommodate a more suburban based home and lot size. So I don't know how you write that in and get our intent across.
Do we need just separate, like, draw a boundary and say this is specific regulations for this region area, and then and just define that in the code?
I think, yeah, Daniel, I think that was the way we would have to do it. Yes. Yeah, I'm trying to think of how you would call it out, like, you know, because already Toledo's already in sections like Kellogg's Edition 1, Kellogg's Edition 2, and all that. And so if you're in these areas, you fall under this regulation on lot size. Yet if you're outside of these areas, then it's this regulation on lot size.
Well, could we somehow do some overlays on a map similar to the one that's in the council chambers, where, you know, we actually you highlight the areas where, you know, XYZ code applies to this, XYZ code applies to this?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of how to write it in the plan itself.
Right.
So,
okay. Well, at least
was it going to be where there was going to be different codes too for the amount of subdivisions? Did we touch on that? Like anything less than 4 would have different than anything more than 4. Was there something said about that?
I'm not sure I understand. Any more than 4 houses at a time?
Well, like, weren't you talking about like having wanting a little more if you're going to put more than 4 subdivisions?
Yeah, I was sort of throwing that out because we are going to get developers in here that want to build on 10 acres and they're going to want 80 homes on that.
Right.
And so we're going to have to say that, you know, if you're building more than 4 homes at a time or something like that, then you're going to be required to adhere to these, what Cindy called them appropriately, suburban regulations as far as lot size. And identifying our downtown inner core as a separate item. I don't see that happening unless, you know, 2 brothers live next door to each other and they both pass on and the kids sell both out. I mean, how do you get four lots, even if you subdivide an 8,000 square foot? How do you get more than four at a time.
Right.
Unless the guy behind you, Cindy, decides to sell his half a block, right?
Right.
Okay. All right.
And what's interesting too is because there was two subdivisions that the city was approached with, and one was a 10-acre subdivision, and it was when our lot size could be 8,000 square foot, and most of the lots that they put in that subdivision were probably on average 10 to 12,000 square foot. So 10 acres with all the other regulations, it only got them, I think, 28 home sites. Mm-hmm. And then another larger 30 acres, they subdivided. They had really large lots. Some of them, their lots were like 20,000 square feet just because of the slopes and slants of the land. And they only had 42 homes on that. So, you know, Toledo is kind of down in a hole. Our urban growth area is on a hillside. So that is going to preclude some things from happening too, just because of environment and slopes, critical areas, those type of things.
The what happens though typically is as house prices go up, those impediments to development go away.
Yeah.
Whereas you couldn't afford to front load a house and have the back of the house with 2 stories down below like they do in Kansas and stuff because of the tornadoes. You couldn't afford to do that because of the way you have to build your slab and your retaining walls and things like that. They'd be cost prohibitive. Yeah. But when you reach a certain price point, it's no longer cost prohibitive. We saw that in the boom of the early 2000s when more than one time we looked at large acreage and said, well, it's got this much excess, or we're going to off haul, and it's got that many retaining walls, and it just doesn't pencil out. But then the houses jump $250,000, and all of a sudden it's a slam dunk.
Yeah. And housing is a hot topic right now in the state, in the county, definitely. In fact, I had a meeting earlier today with Commissioner Stamper and Richard DeBolt, who's now in charge of the EDC. And housing, that's a huge one right now. There's a lot of money coming down the pike too for housing. So, you know, you guys are right on track. That's for sure.
Well, you can't build those giant 100 acre places like Costco and Lowe's, distribution centers, and not house their people somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is just something that, we'll work on a little bit more on the wording of how to, so are you thinking then what's already in the city limits, or just like, because you had said downtown core. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of 2 different things.
Yeah, I realize that when you go up along, when you go past the Sandy's old pizza place and turn right, you almost go into a different area. Mm-hmm. Especially when you get, now is that portion where the Callis Ridge, is that part of Toledo, or is that Lewis County?
Callis Ridge.
Okay, where you go up by the high school, just short of the high school, and there's that.
The high school is not in city limits.
That's all off this.
Yeah, the city limits basically stops at the storage units.
Okay.
On the north.
So do we call it our downtown core?
So is the high school in the urban growth?
Yes. Yes.
But the most current urban growth is going to go up by Betty's, up that way, right?
Up Plummeting.
So part of it, so the property to the southwest of Toledo Vader Road is already in the city limits, like that big field, like when you're going up out of town to the left. Yeah. That's already in city limits. So the city limits is all the way to Plumondon. So that's kind of the barrier. So then beyond that, all that area is in the urban growth area.
Okay.
So like where Toledo Tel is and Sorensen's trucking, and stuff. So that is, yeah, in the
Okay.
urban growth area.
Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
So are we going to have to completely fill in our city limit housing ability before we can go to the urban growth area?
No, not completely fill it in. No. No.
Okay.
And the urban growth area is basically underway now with
Right.
sewer and water works.
Right. And in the urban growth area, they can already build to city standards. So if they wanted to start dividing their property into smaller parcels, they could. With
but they couldn't service them.
In the urban growth area, yes.
Right, because you don't have water sewer up there yet.
We will. Yeah.
That's underway.
Yeah, it's on the way.
Yeah. So feasibility of that is done, right? And now it's is it the costing exercise that's happening, or engineering plans that are
engineering plans is happening currently.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, welcome, Brian.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
We're gonna get a photo.
Dad 2.0.
Yeah. So you just, probably a little bit more discussion on how we want to handle it. So just kind of think about it a little bit more on, how you feel about it and what we want to present to the city council, because it does have to pass their test too. And I know it will pass a state test because they do want to see smaller lot sizes and more condensed housing in the cities. So, but does have to pass through city council too.
Well, one other thing to think of too, if we decided to make, let's say, a downtown core area where you could have lot sizes of 4,000, we could always limit the size of the house you can build on that lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I grew up in a 1,200 square foot home, and in fact, everybody I knew did. When Santa Clara was first starting, so you could limit the size of a house to 1,000 square feet or 1,200 square feet without any problem at all, and have a little bit more normal size looking lot than what you're seeing here, where you can borrow sugar from your next door neighbor without leaving home.
Yeah. So just something to look at. So do we want to get started on page 42 then?
Sure. How's it going, Dad?
Oh, it's going, man. Going. A little bit tired, as to be expected, right?
You didn't do anything.
Oh.
This work begins now.
So on page 42, we stopped on 10.04 street grades and curves. And we talked about having a maximum slope of the driveway of 12%. I think Steve actually suggested that. So does anybody have anything on 10.05?
10.
06? Any input on the block sizes? No?
Nope.
Okay. So do you guys just want to go page by page instead of section by section? Like I was doing?
We can get through it.
Or we can start where we all have notes.
Any notes on page 43?
No.
44? 45? 46? 47? 48? We could have finished this that night.
Well, wait a sec. On page 45, does the city have its own standards and specs, or do they follow Lewis County or state standards and specs.
On page 45 for like sidewalks and streets.
Well, any other public improvements installed at the option of the subdivider shall conform to city requirements. And, you know, like the type of curb, when you install a curb and gutter and a sidewalk, does the city have standards on that, or do we follow the UBC, or do we follow state?
We follow UBC, but that's it. We don't have any other standards. Like on specific type of street lights and things like that. It has been talked about in the past, but nothing's ever been done with it. Do you have some thoughts on that, Stephen?
No, I don't think we need to go through the effort of actually building one. We could look at Lewis County's or the state specs as far as extraordinary structures. The state handles extraordinary structures pretty well. So, I mean, in those isolated incidents, as far as the types of street lights and things like that, the planning commission gets a shot at it, and so does the city council as far as approving what they intend to install. So, we'll get a look. We'll get a look at the side of the sidewalks, what type of curbs and gutters they're putting in, what they're using for foundation, whether it's base rock, sand, or whatever. I think we'll always have an opportunity to address that.
Are these for the sidewalks that are going to be in the neighborhoods or for the downtown area?
In a new neighborhood.
In the pending.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like
the reason why I asked is I remember the DOT had some sort of requirements for things that were going to be on the sidewalk of the main drag because it's a scenic byway or something.
Yeah, because it's a state highway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The state scenic highway, special one.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Anything on page 49?
The digital version is off by a little bit. Are you in section 11?
It's the start of chapter 4 is page 49.
Yeah. Critical area protection. It has page 49 on the bottom.
There it is. There we go.
Yeah.
It's actually 52 in the digital. In
the digital, yeah, because it has all the beginning stuff. Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, critical areas protection.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And on shoreline, I have an email into our engineer asking, hey, what's going on with this? We're supposed to be doing public participation right now. So are we going to be doing something for our April meeting? So
we're supposed to get public's opinions on these points here.
Right now we're doing shoreline master program, not a paragram, but a program update. So we've already started that. It's with the engineering, and they've been doing some work on that because the state changed some of their rules. So they just need to get me that information so that so you guys can discuss it.
So that's inherently tabled.
Yeah. Maybe we need to keep it at a paragram. So anything on page 50?
No.
51. 52. 53. 54. And now we're to chapter 5, page 55. Anything on 56?
Who does our inspections?
For building?
Yeah.
Currently, Lewis County.
Lewis County does them. Okay.
Yes. Yes. I know that in my conversations, a lot of things were discussed this morning, and EDC is looking at potentially using some .09 funds to hire not a building inspector, but somebody that would actually do all the pre-plan work with a more of a bigger business building and stuff like that, because they would have the expertise. So currently, like any of the SEPA, NEPA, environmental stuff, that's me. And I have to do a lot of research before I do it, because it's such a, I always tell people I know a lot about a little, but not a little, you know.
Yeah, we understand.
Just, yeah, one particular subject, no. So they are looking at actually hiring somebody to help all the smaller cities, especially that do not have their own community development person on site, but they would still go through the county for the, but they would work hand in hand with county staff on these type of bigger building sites and stuff, because like the Lowe's that's going in over in Winlock is supposed to be doing all of the building inspection and everything. Well, that's, you know, kind of out of their realm.
It kind of is out of their realm.
Yeah.
I don't want to find us in that situation. And you do understand that there are private inspectors that you can hire on a contract basis.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Because if we get a 30 lot subdivision going, they're going to want, you know, concrete inspection, form inspection,
yes,
you know, everything. They're going to be calling for 3-4 inspections a day. And I don't think you're going to get the response from Lewis County.
I don't either.
That's my concern. And currently, so like if you want to build a house, the city has a you know, plan that we go through that you fill out and stuff. There's no fee. We don't charge a fee. All the fees are charged at Lewis County. Whereas if we did some kind of contract with our own building official, then Toledo would reap some of the benefits of that with the you know, the funding.
Well, yeah, you know, some of the smaller cities that I've worked for, what happened is, as part of the development agreement with the developer, is they paid a fee to cover inspection costs, and then you hired your own inspector, so you didn't have the situation where the developer was hiring the inspector and everybody's going, the foxes guarding the hen house. So you do the hiring of the inspector, and he's obliged to you for payment, but you collect the fees in order to pay him from the development.
Yeah. In fact, you know, with Winlock, they have a building inspector, and he is really good. They, you know, he's pretty busy right now. But I've even kind of thrown it out there to our mayor and hit the mayor over there in Winlock. You know, would it be something that we could, you know, until we get to a place where we are building a lot? We have, you know, a lot of them are roofing right now. It's roofing inspections and stuff like that. Could we do a contract with Winlock for their building inspector and pay them a fee, and then Toledo would get a, you know, portion of that too, that inspection fee? And they're kind of talking about that. Just like right now, my staff and I still go to Winlock and help out with all their treasury part of their city business. And it's been working really well. And the cities have been working well together too. So that's something that is being discussed too. And instead of all these fees going just to Lewis County and them sitting on them and not coming out and doing the inspections in a timely manner, we would have more oversight on hiring or working with Winlock or something like that.
Yeah, and in some situations, unfortunately, one inspector is not going to be knowledgeable in all aspects of construction. And so you don't want a jack of all trades that's doing your concrete inspection and your, you know, your building inspection. A guy could be great at building houses, but it doesn't, you know, doesn't necessarily mean that he knows how the utility joint trench should go in.
Well, he's, I mean, he has been going to a lot of classes and getting
certified
certifications and all of it. So it's not just
that's a man whose time is going to be spread very thin very shortly.
Yeah. So, but it's an option.
Sure.
So, or like you said, hire out somebody separate.
Well, it's no different hiring him as hiring somebody as a private inspector. So
Right.
you get
A
somebody
lot of
involved.
times they want a monthly fee. Though, and so right now it just doesn't make sense. So
as far as that is concerned, if we hire a private inspector, who indemnifies who?
I haven't even looked at that.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
look at Carol, come here. We have a little baby. Brian.
Oh my goodness.
We're on a Zoom call for the meeting, and Brian's in it, and he just brought his little one. Carol just had her knee operated on, so she's. It's a baby. Oh my God, she's so cute. Oh, we
Don't know how that angle was.
That side of the family came from.
Good thing she looks like her mama.
Yeah, she does. She does.
Sweet.
So anything on page 58, 59, 60. So 61, we're starting to talk about short subdivisions. 62, boundary line adjustments. 63, variance.
I had a question on boundary line adjustments.
Sure.
Who was it that told me, said that the county was adamant against when we were talking about, dividing lots into, let's say, 2 lots. If you had an 8,000 square foot lot and you wanted to subdivide that into 2 lots, that of course would require a separate parcel number. And somebody, I'm getting old, had mentioned to me that the county was dead set against that, and I couldn't for the life
Doesn't matter what the county wants. If you're inside city limits, you go by the city rules. You can do it.
Okay.
Who's the boss?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does to me.
Okay. I do a lot of boundary line adjustments. So it's nothing unusual to go through boundary line adjustments.
And Michelle, that applies to the urban growth area as well?
It could, yes.
Does that need to be explicit? I mean,
possibly. I mean, what happens usually in the urban growth area, the county, we have a contract that they kind of, they follow our guidelines. And so if somebody wanted to do something in the urban growth area, they have to apply to the county, but the city does have to sign off on it. So they're supposed to follow our guidelines. So. And then page 63 goes into variances versus page 64, conditional
I think we need to back up for just a sec.
Okay.
Okay, on short subdivisions on section A, or little a, on 61, it says that section 17.02 provides an administrative procedure for the approval of a subdivision of land into 4 or less lots, et cetera, et cetera. And then when we have boundary line additions, it says the boundary line separating 2 to 4 parcels of land may be adjusted. And number 1 says will not result in the creation of any additional lot, tract, or parcel. Is that something we have to change? If we're going to let somebody subdivide their lot into 2 lots, we are creating an additional lot.
Oh, I see. Huh.
I'm trying to think of a case where this would occur. So So if you had, say you owned a block
Mm-hmm.
and you had 4 parcels on it,
Right.
and you wanted to do a boundary line adjustment because you wanted to increase the size of one and lower another, or just to change it because of what may be on those, those parcels.
Right. I understand.
That would come under that boundary line adjustment. So you would still end up with the same number of parcels.
Right. Okay.
Where a subdivision is actually taking a parcel and dividing it.
Right.
A boundary line is you're just adjusting that line.
So if in the example, I'll use Tom and Kathy Hill here on Second. If they wanted to subdivide in that blank spot on the north side of their lot, they actually wanted that to be another lot. That doesn't fall under boundary line adjustments. That falls under something else.
Yeah, short subdivision.
Okay.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. Yes.
Got it.
All right.
So anything on page 63 or 64? 65. 66. So 66 is a full subdivision when you're doing more than 4 lots. Short subdivisions less than 4. 67. 68. 69. So this is an amendment of the code.
Do we have when we get a final plat and they get a vesting map, do we have we do, time limit, I'm sorry, I found it.
It's page 70. And then the rest is definitions. So this is where you guys had kind of talked about maybe adding some definitions on farm animals or
Oh, right.
Are we back to chickens?
Back to chickens.
Livestock.
Chickens and bovine.
Livestock because the bone.
Livestock, yeah. So do you guys have any other comments on any of the definitions or the?
I think
Well,
there's
we had discussed the bed and breakfast thing with 5 or fewer guests.
And I would think that tiny home would fall under this as well, correct?
Yeah, we talked about tiny home and what constitutes a tiny home.
And we basically came to the decision that every tiny home and or Airbnb unit would have a designated parking space per unit.
That's what we talked about.
Yeah, rather than have it be a limited number for this or that.
Not for bed. I didn't think a designated parking spot for bed and breakfast was brought up. That was for multifamily dwelling.
We had talked about, because I think Steve had brought up, if I had a 10 bedroom,
Oh, Michelle's frozen.
Yeah. She said 10 bedrooms and she froze.
I guess we wait for her to come back.
Brian, I can hear you.
Oh,
there you go.
There you are.
Okay.
You are defrozen.
You were frozen.
Okay. That's weird because I could hear Brian still talking. So what we had said is
you froze around 10 bedrooms.
Yeah, if you wanted a 10 bedroom bed and breakfast, then you would have to have an off-street parking for each unit.
That's right. That's right.
Is what we discussed.
I agree, but is it in the regs anywhere?
No, but
no, we were just talking about that.
Yeah, adding that language. So I guess, we're come to the end of it. Kind of cruise through any notes that you have, any questions you have about anything. I think Cindy has offered to go ahead and make some of the changes we discussed. And, we didn't really have a whole lot this last half of the book. We did have quite a few at the very beginning. So I think it's great, Stephen's sample that he gave out too. That's kind of nice to kind of even have that drawing in the book.
Is there we could add a resource section that would have that and other, verbiage if we need to. It doesn't really fall under definitions, but we could do exhibits. Actually, we could just do an exhibit section.
Yeah.
And put Steve's.
Well, get somebody to draw them up properly, but yeah.
Well, for now, but for now they're great. And then do you want Eric and I to try to take a stab at kind of some sort of wording or about our intent in all of this?
Because when we approach the council, we'll have to do a public hearing on this too. And when we approach the council, we want to really explain some of the bigger changes, like lot size and what the intent is there. And I think that Cindy, I'll be able to help you out with citing some of the new regulations and laws that are happening at state level for housing.
Okay.
So meanwhile, you want us to go through the definitions though, and get with Cindy if we have anything that we.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I just want everybody.
I think we also need to think about what that core downtown area is going to be.
Right. I think if we can graphically represent that, if we can get, similar to that map in the council chambers that denote industrial versus residential, that if we could somehow zone the city.
So are you guys under kind of this, all of you thinking, you all know where Callett Street is. So like Callett Street South, or are you thinking more up by Betty's, which I would say that's Ash Street South, could be divided into 4,000 square foot lots?
That's the question. I don't know. And do we also take a harder look at North Second and St. Helens and up in that area?
They're pretty much filled in though, aren't they?
I think so.
There's a lot of space actually up North Second.
Is there?
Yeah.
Well, the guy at the end had a lot of acreage. I know that.
Yeah. Well, even across from City Hall. I think about between City Hall and the jail.
Right? Yeah.
There's 3 large empty lots currently.
What are they zoned?
What are they zoned? 8,000 square foot.
They're residential.
Residential.
Yeah.
Who owns those?
Bordy's.
Ramsey owns some and Bordy's. Actually, there's 4 large empty lots.
And they might have the ability then to make those into 4,000 square foot lots. Right.
And I do know that, so I don't know how familiar are you guys with like where Riverbrook is at? So if you go past Betty's and the road kind of goes to the right up.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so don't climb the hill, you go to the right.
Right.
Yeah. And there's some long, skinny lots in there.
Yes, there are.
That could be split down on Riverbrook. There's some lots below the middle school that can be split down quite a bit. And that's the other thing we kind of touched on last time too, was flag lots, and on the entrance of, I think, Cindy, were you going to talk to the fire chief? Somebody was.
Eric was, and I can't remember what. And he and Grove did chat, and I don't remember what they ended up.
Outcome was.
Yeah,
because that's what we were kind of looking at, that and what the fire department would want. If it was like a flag lot. So if we wanted to offer flag lots.
Right. Okay, I wrote that down. Well, yeah. So I wrote down those different areas, and maybe Eric and anyone else that would want to, maybe we kind of do a tour and see, maybe do a rough inventory and figure out if there's a way to overlay that somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I don't want to, and I don't want to end up being arbitrary about it either. I mean,
No.
And, from the standpoint of, yes, we want developers to come in and we'd like them to do suburban type, lots when they come in new. I'm not sure I object to anyone subdividing their lot. It's, throughout the city. I mean, the city's so small that virtually every place is walkable.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, maybe a tour would be a good idea, Cindy.
Yeah, just, if nothing else, just to kind of get
lay the land
straight in our heads. Yeah. Okay.
And would it be helpful? So the two subdivisions that did not happen on those larger lots, the 10-acre and I think almost the 30-acre, would it be helpful for you guys if I dug those out and put them in your packets for the next time, just so kind of show how they were planning storm drains and runoff and streets and all of that too, and lot sizes?
Yeah, for the exhibit portion of this document.
Well, no, just for your benefit right now, so you can kind of see what was proposed in the past.
Oh yeah, I would like to see them.
Yeah,
I would like to see that, Michelle.
Okay.
And where were those, Michelle, again?
So up Toledo Vader Road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Past Plomondon?
No, prior to Plomondon. So all to the left.
Okay.
All to the left. So the one is, where Ron Newman lives?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, one is right next to Ron Newman, and the other one is right just north of that. They're almost connected. Well, a portion of it was connected, and so I will print those out for the packet. I think we meet on the 15th. Does that sound right?
So
18th. No, I'm sorry, you're right.
15th.
15th, yeah. So we'll meet on the 15th. So bring any more of your comments on this document to that meeting. And like I said, if you don't understand something too, circle it and highlight it, because I want you guys to be able to understand everything that we're going through. And so if there's something you don't understand, I want you to ask.
Yeah.
Too. And then if you say this definition doesn't make sense, or we need to elaborate more on it, I have found that I'm like, what did they mean by that definition? I mean, I've gone through it and thought to myself, how do you read it? You could read it so many different ways. Mm-hmm. And so I know I've questioned some of the definitions that are in this document. Mm-hmm. So think about that. I mean, it's kind of boring going through definitions, but just kind of think about some of those things. Would a reasonable person be able to understand this document? Because if a builder did come in, this is the information we would be giving them. Okay, here's our regulations on subdividing and what you need to be able to do. So,
yep.
Okay.
But so far, the main thing appears to be the lot change, the lot size change.
That's the biggest thing I think that we've tackled.
Yeah.
Is the lot size.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
That's pretty significant. I mean, we're going half size.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, it's very big.
Yeah.
I don't want to bring this up again unnecessarily, but I think it is something that we need to start thinking about. Is once again, if we're going to invite developers to make money by coming into our town, as that they, in order to get a vesting map, they would have to agree to conditions of approval that it is a highway in which the city can do some extraction for things that we actually need, you know, to get builder participation into other than improving their pocketbooks.
So where are you going with that?
Yeah.
Well,
how do we do that?
Okay. Well, I mean, they essentially, the city, normally a city manager would sit down with a developer, or the chief engineer of the city would sit down with a developer, and the city normally keeps a list of things that they'd like to get done and they don't have funding for necessarily. You know, in one particular instance, I was building a 50-lot subdivision and I had to widen a road and build a park halfway across town in order to get the approval for my vesting map. And another, I had to drill a well and then dedicate the well to the city because they were having water issues in Morgan Hill. That was part of the conditions of approval. Part of the conditions of approval could be that a stretch of a highway that is now on telephone poles needs to be underground, and they would be responsible for doing that.
So,
even if it wasn't connected to their development.
I'm sorry.
Even if it was not connected to their development.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't have to prove that it's connected to their development for you. I mean, from the city standpoint, the city of Brentwood built itself on extractions from developers. They didn't get a very good reputation for it, but all cities in California do it with regards to requiring that you go a little bit above and beyond building for your own pocketbook.
So, I mean, we have to be careful too, because I would have to really research some of the state law in Washington State on that before I
I think you could probably take a look at Seattle and find everything you need.
But if the road is connected to this development and it was undersized to get to the main road, yes, I see where the developer would have to build the road that's not in his development to a certain standard because all the traffic that would be using that road. Same as water lines, sewer lines, things like that. If they're currently undersized, the developer would have to upsize it to get it to that development.
That's a matter of course, yes.
Yeah. And then as far as parks, I mean,
but the good conscience in you is rejecting the fact that you need to have a developer do something over and above in order to come into your city and walk away with a bag full of money. And that's exactly the way it was put to me by the city of Santa Clara was, they're not doing you any favors by coming in here and building money and leaving, building houses and leaving. What they're doing is they're coming in here and doing themselves a favor because they're in the business to build and sell homes.
But in the regulations, it already has in the subdivision about parks and things like that too. So they would be building their parks.
I can assure you the lists that I have seen are endless, including one subdivision where we had to donate $500,000 to community art.
Yeah.
I don't think Steve is saying that we have to do all these things. He's just throwing out there to start thinking about if there are any ways we can utilize their coming in and building investments to further certain goals the city needs to do. It's worth thinking about that in advance so we can start planning for that.
Yeah, and when we've done subdivision development in the past, even though it didn't go through because everything crashed, but the planning commission were the ones actually that took the suggestions from staff on conditions of the development.
Okay.
Too.
And Steve, are you asking like maybe we can come up with like a wish list of like what we would ask them to do?
I'm saying that the city should be thinking about projects that are not funded that would be good for the city that we'd like to have completed.
All right.
And you know, in one instance, it might have been a subdivision out there on Plomondon Road that completely landscaped the Toledo jail.
Right.
Okay,
that's what I was
because it's a
wondering.
benefit to the city, and they have to be made to understand that they're building something that's going to become part of our city, part of our community, and they don't get to walk in, make the money, and leave. They have to leave something behind. And most cities were very, how would I say, they were friendly in their approach to that, trying to make you realize that that's what they were looking for from you as a developer. Some cities were straight at whatever we can get, we're going to get. And if you want to build your houses and you want to make money, that's what you're going to do. And it's all about the money. If they're going to walk away and make $100,000 a house, and you tell them in order to do that, they're going to have to give 5 of it back to you, they'll be willing to do that. They'll weigh the pros and cons of that. And if it makes sense money-wise, they'll do it. Doesn't mean you have to be antagonistic.
Yeah. And it kind of probably depends upon how desirable your area is too.
And right now we're a hot housing market.
So
like Brentwood.
Yeah.
But I know another thing so the mayors have a meeting every, the first Friday of every month. And one of the topics I know is going to be impact fees. So currently we do not have impact fees. I don't think anybody in Lewis County currently has impact fees. And I know the city of Winlock, they're kind of, they're struggling because that Lowe's building that's going up, there's some certain things they didn't think about the size of it until the fire department brought it to them that you need a ladder truck to be able to fight a fire on a building that's over 35 feet tall. And so they're kind of struggling with that right now. And I think Napa Vine Fire Chief struggling with that too over there in Napa Vine with some of their bigger buildings that's in the area that they have to help, that the fire district helps fight. I know that there's a lot of people that are not for impact fees. I don't think the county commissioner I spoke to today is, or EDC. I can honestly say, with what's happening in Toledo and what I've seen over the last 20 years happen in Toledo, I'm not for impact fees either. It adds a lot of additional cost to a home. And with impact fees, what you're saying, that development is going to impact like your schools, your fire district, your parks, things like
your roads.
that.
Yeah.
So that impact fee is to cover those, things that are going to need improvements because of this development. Well, it also comes with a caveat that if you charge impact fees and you receive them, you have to spend them within, I believe it's 5 years. If you do not spend that impact fee on that improvement, it can't be for just general, maintenance and operation. It has to be an improvement of, significance. You have to give that money back.
Yeah.
So, I don't see the need right now, especially like with Stephen saying, this might be the thing we need to look at is a developer comes in, where's our wish list of things that may need those improvements and getting that developer to buy into that. So I kind of like that idea better than an impact fee.
Yep.
I've never seen impact fees actually do what they intended to do. Address an issue, have it been paid for, and move on. If you know that you're going to need a ladder truck in order to service their building, well, that should have been part of the conditions of approval.
It should have.
It should have been part of the conditions. And those are the things that you can start looking at. How is this going to affect us? How many times are they going to have to repave highway, is it 12 or 60, exit 60, where you 63?
63.
When all those trucks start using that.
Yeah.
I also just asked Eric about his conversation with Eric Grove. He believes that the fire department wouldn't have any issue with flag lots because they don't pull into properties because they don't want the rigs near the fire anyway.
Oh.
So it would be, you know, it'd be off street or on the street, away from the building, away from the structure.
I would think they'd carry more than 100 foot of hose because I can't think of any.
Exactly. I mean, I think we probably would want to, you know, formalize that with the fire chief, but just in the casual conversation with Eric Grove, he didn't believe that flag lots would be an issue.
So that was one thing too, then we would want to add into this document where we basically state that your lot frontage had to be X amount of feet. So
right.
It could be a lot lower then.
Yep.
Works.
Yeah.
And I know I have a meeting with the fire chief on the 12th, I think, of April. I have to do this dam exercise if the dam failed and a catastrophic event were to take place. I'm like, I know what we'd worry about. There just wouldn't be any Toledo. What would we discuss it for? So, I guess that wasn't the correct answer.
Just end up like Harry Truman, that's all.
Yeah. So I might be able to hit him up on that prior to that meeting then, Cindy.
Okay.
And then I'll know more on the 15th.
Cool.
For our meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Michelle.
All right, take care.
Get some sleep there, Brian.
Thank you, Michelle.
Tell Eric I hope he gets better. Say hello to Mama for me.
Yep.
I will.
Thanks
All
for
right.
Take care, guys.
Sharon, Brian.
Later, guys.
Bye.